Hi again. Okay, a few things that I wanted you guys to have a look at here. This is, hope this shows up okay. These are morning glory flowers that we grew in our backyard. They grew up a two-sided trellis, and the seeds on the right, the blue one, were soaked overnight in Ormus before they were planted, and the other one wasn't. We've got a few more pictures of these things, but anyway, it gives you an idea. The halfway through the year, the summer here, we're in Ontario, so these all get planted. Everything starts growing in May. So maybe around about end of July, beginning of August, Ricky went out with a watering can and some Ormus and watered both plants midway through the year. The following year, both of those plants grew back with small white flowers that were only an inch in diameter. And from our research, this seems to be what the original morning glory plant was. So is it possible that the ormic material allowed the plant's genetic blueprint to go back to the original plant? It allowed it to reverse or change all of the protocols that had been bred into it by the genetic alteration. Now, this isn't GMO like they're doing today. These plants were crossbred and interbred, some of them for 100 years or more, you know, to achieve colors and size and what have you. So it's an interesting thing, but again, we don't have the facilities to go into that. Some of the other interesting things that may also comply with this is some of the Ormus materials. We've seen people that have had very good luck with dabbing some of them, you know, on skin cancers, and some of these things fall off in 2 to 10 days. So we believe that what's happening is that the genetic material that is producing the cancer, the damaged genetic material, is somehow able to orchestrate the change back to producing the correct material within this Meissner field that Mr. Hudson says is created with these materials. So it looks like it. I mean, we're certainly not sure by any means, but it looks like it. Between that and the plants, it looks like it's starting to set up a pattern. We've also do our best to try and, you know, get people to try out some of the Ormus. I mean, spiritually, we've found that a great number of people have much better meditations. They feel much calmer. They're better able to make decisions. Decisions come easier. Their ability to read seems to improve as well. The comprehension during the reading improves. Your ability to discern material from the written material improves. So there's a lot of significant things here that really need to be investigated. Anyway, I digress. This is a picture that we took. It's not a really great picture, but we took this a few years ago, and what you're seeing is a pair of glasses, conventional pair of glasses, and underneath it is white clover, and underneath that is normal white clover. So the normal white clover grows in our lawn here in Ontario, and usually it's around 6 or 7 inches high. The white clover that is 17 inches long was growing right beside where Ricky Ormus the Morning Glory. Now if you look, there's a little plate at the side there with a kitchen knife on it. Alright, now an average kitchen knife is about a 5.5 inch long blade. If you look at that in comparison to the 3-leaf cluster of the extra large white clover, you will see that that 3-leaf cluster is around 5.5 or 6 inches across. Normally, like the clover on the bottom, that little cluster of leaves is somewhere in around maybe an inch or just over an inch across. So that's a rather significant difference. Also, the large piece across the top here is rhubarb that we grew in our backyard here in Peterborough, Ontario, and the plant had been Ormus the previous year. Alright, now we have, here is a picture of a gentleman holding one of the rhubarb leaves that comes from the backyard. This man's about as tall as I am. He's 6 feet. He's got fairly large hands, and he is clasping the same stalk that's in the other photograph. Another interesting thing about this this rhubarb was that when the stalks were sliced and eaten, and we cut quite a bit of it, and we had quite a few people try it out, the rhubarb was tart, but it was not so tart that you needed to have sugar, which is very unusual for rhubarb if you're not familiar with the plant. It grows in Canada, most of the northern United States, and probably Europe and northern Asia. It's a cooler weather plant. But anyway, the point is the sweetness of the rhubarb was really good. At the same time, when we went to the organic farmers market here in Peterborough, they were selling clusters of rhubarb, and you needed about anywhere from 10 to 14 stalks of what was available on the same day to equal the volume of a single stalk from our rhubarb. So again, another very significant change. It seems that when plants are administered some ormic material in their growth cycle, they become very healthy, and they do not emit ethylene gas. So ethylene gas is the main attractant for insects and various types of fungus and so on. So this past year we grew, in 6 weeks, we grew radishes, red radishes, which were larger than my fist. So, and the thing is, when you cut them all and go right through them, they're very nut sweet. Now the average size of a radish that's normally grown, at least in this part of the world, is something about that size compared to that size. Alright, so again, it's another difference. We need more people, you know, looking into it, playing with it, growing plants, producing pictures, because this stuff's really interesting. Another picture, and again, this is an older one. This one here, I'll bring this close and go up. Let me see here. Okay, now these are plants growing. You can see the snow behind them. And these plants are growing on our front lawn and our back lawn. And this picture was taken on the 6th of December. Now we have 3 different plants still blooming. One is pansies, and they're fairly tough anyway. But by the 6th of December that year, we had had maybe 7 or 8 nights where our temperature at night was down to -7 Celsius or about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So there was at least 7 or 8 nights, and these plants were still blooming and flowering. This continued that year until the 7th of January, at which time we got 22 inches of snow, and I never bothered clearing it all off to do the plants anymore. But these plants were continuing to bloom right into pretty deep winter. A number of years ago, there was a gentleman that ormused some plants in his greenhouse in Wisconsin. And the winter came, mid-January comes, and he was in the greenhouse one day and he thought, gee, some of these things don't look that bad. So he took a few plants into the house, and within a week they were all going. These things were not killed by the frost. Again, we don't know why. Alright? Anyway, the point is, all of this, we're going to come back again. Ormic materials are obviously essential things for anything that lives. Ormus materials can be derived from water, from salt water, from any plant material that lives. Sorry about the phone. It can also be derived, I'll just wait till it's over. Okay, so ormic materials can also be derived from anything that has previously lived, inasmuch as you can derive Ormus materials from limestone, which was the shells of living sea creatures, and actually today is one of the primary ingredients in concrete. So I believe there's a few people that have played with this and actually extracted ormic material from concrete, you know, by dissolving it in acid and, you know, taking it up for its swing. Anyway, I don't want this video to get too long. What I do want to do is make people aware of your exposure to electromagnetic fields. You can supplement with the ormic material that helps to a degree, because we don't know exactly which materials are affected by which frequencies. That's a massive study to figure that out. But we know it's happening. On the other side, you can reduce your exposures to electromagnetic fields as much as you possibly can. Some of the things that I just suggested, there's others. Where the electric box comes into your house, an aluminum casing can be built around the electric box in your house. Absolutely spend the $50 and buy a Gauss meter. You can test these fields yourself. You can check these yourself. Sometimes as simple as changing the position of a bed in a bedroom will give you better sleep, particularly if the electric box coming into your house is in the basement right underneath the bed. So just being aware of some of these small things. Put all your electrical equipment on power bars where you can shut them off at night, because then you're not sleeping in their fields. They're off. It also saves you some money, and what's wrong with that? Microwaves do not need to be on. If you have to have a microwave, unplug it until you need it. But really, if you buy a toaster oven, you don't have these problems, and it's just about as quick. And you're not worrying about leaking, and etc., etc. Now, one of the reasons that they're putting electric broadcast meters on houses is that the next generation of appliances, which has already started to arrive in these new ovens, can't think of the name of them, but anyway, eventually your new dishwasher, your stove, and your fridge are going to come with communications ability to the electric power meter. So now you will be in your kitchen doing what you're normally doing, and there will be all kinds of radio frequency broadcasts going back and forth between your appliances and the electric meter. We don't need this. We already have dishwashers that have LED readouts on the panel. When you measure some of these things, you're talking 72 milligauss. You want to be below 2. This is the safe area, regardless of what these so-called governments who haven't done their research are telling you. But anyway, for your own benefit, get one of these things, check these things out, learn a little bit about, watch those 2 web pages that I referred you to, and do a little bit of thinking. And always remember that just because there's a wall there, be aware of what's coming through the wall from the other side, because magnetic and electromagnetic fields care nothing about walls. So if you're in an apartment, you may have people on both sides of you as well as above and below. So just something to keep in mind. Your electric power meter or your broadcast meter is on the outside of your house. However, it's usually mounted on the wall, and there's no backplate behind it to reflect anything away from the house. So you may want to, if you can, put some kind of backplate. Aluminum seems to work quite well. Either behind it on the outside or behind it on the inside, and watch, because as you reduce these electromagnetic exposures, certain symptoms and things that are happening to you will stop happening to you. And regardless of what they say, you'll feel better, and that's what it's all about. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. As questions come in, if there's a lot of questions in a specific area, we'll try to address that as we can. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.